Connie Stolo. I'm the chairman of the Education Committee for the Winchester Seniors Association, and our committee brings in 2 programs every month. This is one of them. We're delighted to see you here, and I think you will have a very interesting morning. Some of the programs are in the morning and some are in the evening. In the winter, we have all morning programs because most of us don't like to go out in the ice and the snow at night. So there will be other evening programs. Our Tempo Senior Move is a member of the National Association of Senior Move Managers, a not-for-profit professional association of organizations dedicated to assisting older adults and families with the physical and emotional demands of downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes. Alice Abraham is the owner of Tempo Senior Move, LLC. In creating Tempo Senior Move, Alice Abraham combines her organizational skills with her compassion for seniors to serve the growing need for assistance with planning a move or modifying the home to age in place. During Alice's 2 decades as the music librarian at New England's premier public broadcasting company, she efficiently executed 3 major library moves, which required her to be hands-on and highly responsive to workflow needs. She has served on various health and safety committees and knows how to design safe floor plans. Our Tempo Senior Move is so named by its owner, Alice Abraham, because as a former librarian, her specialty was music. Her use of the musical direction a tempo, Italian for in time, reflects that her firm's services are designed to help her clients and their families resume their original place after a transition. Alice says, our tempo will put the sigh of relief into your move as we take care of all the logistics and help you with the decisions involved in your transition. Please welcome Alice Abraham.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay, we're going to keep this more informal. So I will also be taking questions as we cover different topics. Now, this list, you don't need to worry about reading that because it's also covered in your brochures. And there are additional bits of information, handouts back there that you can collect later if you're interested. It's my pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you for coming. Now, to begin with, I'd like to find out how long people have lived in their current home. Anybody more than 40 years? Several, okay. More than 50? Oh. Have you lived in your home more than 50 years? No. Okay, so I think that's about, so those, how many years then? 52, and there was another hand in the back? Wow, okay, lots of memories in there, I'm sure. Well, the reason I'm asking is, even if you've lived in your home 10 years, you accumulate a lot of different things, or friends and kids might leave a lot of their belongings behind too. So it's not necessarily all your own collections, belongings, stuff, but it's a lot to sort through. Anyway, you may have noticed from the brochure that I'm running my business from Vermont, and I'd like to use a little Vermont analogy. Imagine if this was a huge gallon of maple syrup, and does anybody know how many how many gallons of maple sap it takes on an average to get 1 gallon of sweet syrup?
40.
40? Yep, and sometimes it's even 50 if it's a very wet year. Why on earth am I talking about maple syrup? Well, it's a very patient process in boiling down that sap to get the sweet results. Likewise it is with downsizing your home, though it doesn't have to take numerous weeks or days. There are shortcuts on that. And downsizing, or what we'd like to say in a more positive term, right-sizing, can be an important process, even if you're not planning to move anytime soon. but just trying to make your home easier to navigate, easier to age in place, and make it safe. Those are all important things. So the right sizing is something that senior move managers are asked to help or coordinate. That's probably the most important thing. But you can't just right size and start paring down your belongings without an overall plan on where is it or what are you trying to do. Am I trying to relocate? Okay. How small is the condo or the assisted care place, whatever it is, or the apartment that I'm moving into? So you have to have a vision for what you're working towards. If you're trying to just modify your current home, you need to look at all the safety issues, because a lot of people have gotten into some bad habits of maybe using stacks of books or papers to walk around. I'm not talking fire hazards right now, but instead of using a grab bar or a walker or whatever, you're using an unstable balancing act on leaning on piles of books and things like that. You might have scatter rugs around. Why are they called scatter? Because you're going to slip on that. They scatter under your feet. There can be any number of issues. Or maybe you can no longer reach those high cabinets in the kitchen. So there are all kinds of simple things that can be addressed too, besides downsizing your belongings. Let's find out what some of the situations are here. How many people are trying to just stay in their current home at this point but want to make some changes? Can I have a show of hands? Okay, so that's at least a good half. The other half, what are your intentions? Are you thinking of relocating either to a condo or some other alternate housing? Show of hands, anybody thinking of moving? Okay, a few then. I don't think any on this side of the room. Okay, well that helps me know how to direct today's presentation, but if I'm missing something, also wave at me and speak up. So another thing is having customized floor plans. There may be ways for the majority of you that are trying to stay in your home that if you move things around, larger pieces of furniture also, you might have more space. There may be a different way to display your prized collections. Obviously, consider things that you haven't used in a long time. Why are they stored? Are they very sentimental items that you're protecting, or that emotionally charged that you just can't look at them? In my case, I used to have what was called an anxiety closet. Sounds a little weird, but I had several close family members that died when I was quite young, and I had belongings of theirs, and I couldn't look at them for years. I've dealt with that over the years, but you've got to be aware of these sort of emotional traps, and not beat yourself up about that. Some things you have to put aside for later. Looking around, I'm also reminded that there are cases where there are well-meaning family members that come in and intrude. They're not understanding that a handmade bookcase is something important, and they remove that without asking permission. There are other situations like that. In our house, we even have a plastic child's teacup in the china cabinet with the good linens. Now, if I hadn't communicated with the family members, they would toss that right out if we weren't there. But that's actually more priceless, because my spouse came over at a young age from Ireland and had a young sister die of leukemia. And the only thing they had to play with was that little plastic teacup. So if you're throwing something like that out, boy, that's a lot of damage to unravel later on. So I'm just trying to give a couple of personal examples. It's always good to relay the story, the history, the connection, be it directly, or better yet, through the written word, or even better yet, through audio. And that's something I'm going to get to in a moment later, which brings me to, let me say a little more about my background. Yes, I worked for 20 years as a music librarian at WGBH Public Radio and TV. And I was actually there for 25 years, so I know quite a bit as through getting the personal narrative, storytelling, etc. And that tool can also be a great aid, therapeutic indeed, in helping letting go of belongings. If you can relay the sense of connection, then you're almost giving yourself more permission to let go of the item. So bear with me for a moment. I have some visuals for that. Let's take, the title of this whole presentation was A Sense of Belonging and Letting Go of Belonging. So here we've got the word, I'm going to have a juggling act here, belonging. But let's break this into the four, or the two pairs of contrasting two conflicts here. First off, let's just look at the beginning of the word. The word to be. In therapy or analysis, you're expected to put everything into words, to be in the moment, etc. If you know, instead of acting out, if you can verbalize a situation. Now contrast that with the word longing here in the middle. As opposed to being present and current, we're pining for the past, longing for something, or maybe longing for something we hope in the future. So you've got those emotional conflicts going on. Then the word belonging itself. We all want to belong to either our community here, the center, the church, our family, maybe our family members don't all get along, whatever it is. That sense of belonging. Now contrast that with our belongings. Our belongings, who we are, is that what identifies us? Should we let our belongings trap us in our homes, take over our lives if we have too many things? Or do we take the control back? And so that's another contrast that I just want to address. Because a lot of people think, okay, Alice or whoever is presenting, just tell me some simple tips on how do I get rid of things, you know, and let's get through this very quickly. You can do that, but you're not acknowledging the elephant in the room. It's not about the stuff, it's about the connections, it's about the emotional process. And you got to be kind to yourself. I can't underline that enough through this whole thing. Don't try to sort through things in large doses. Senior move managers or other people can work 5, 8, 10 hours through on something. Don't do that yourself. 2 to 4 hours, 2 to 3 safely, because it's not the physical aspect of moving, lifting, going through things. And this is especially true maybe for couples trying to work on this together. Because you got to understand that it's just emotionally draining. And you've got to be sensitive to your own needs and your own health through the process. So another thing that senior move managers are, besides helping through the actual process, and unlike professional organizers who are, the majority are more coaches, be it phone, email, maybe come over for a free consult. Senior move managers are right there with you, hands-on, you know, and also helping with all the variety of logistics in the background. We can also, most of us do customized floor plans, really understand space design, etc., and can work with you on what your needs are, what your, if it was a business, workflow is. But in your personal situation, what are your routines? Okay, I wear glasses. If I wake up in the middle of the night, I just want to put my hands right there and find my glasses and whatever else I might need. And likewise, you would want to know where your different things are, maybe a flashlight, maybe medicine, whatever you need to always be able to reach out and put your hands on. So if you were moving to another location or modifying your home, you still want to mimic the old routines and plans. That makes it less of an upheaval. So there's a lot of tricks on that. Okay, so we're talking about developing an overall vision, organizing, sorting, downsizing, floor plans, arranging. Let's go from all the rest of this. Where is everybody in their process at this point? Is anybody actually able to let go of stuff? If so, what are you starting with? Does it feel endless? Are you making headway? Anybody want to speak out? Yes.
I started with books,
Okay.
which was not easy.
And how did you happen to choose books and what?
Well, I chose the books that I thought other people might like to read, which I've already read, and I won't read them.
That's a good way.
Sure.
Yep.
So I have been able to.
And that helps free up a lot of elbow room.
A lot of space.
Very good. Okay.
And then we gave the, you were talking about a handmade bookcase
Mhm.
that my father made
Yes.
to our granddaughter, who's enjoying it, even though she's in an apartment. You know, I thought that was a good thing to do, but they have no books.
So she's happy with it.
Exactly.
And you were able to see her happy with it instead of it being later on. Very positive. Now, starting with books works for you, but it's not a one method fits all sort of thing. Let's see, you had your hand up.
I was saying I'm starting with books too.
Oh,
The
okay.
problem is I have a lot of books I've never read.
Uh-oh.
And suddenly realizing I'm learning at a time to read.
Exactly.
But you may have forgotten that those books were there because you couldn't see
I
them.
bought for good reason.
Yeah.
For good reason. I really intend to read them. They become part of my professional life,
Yeah.
my personal life.
So
And
no,
I look at them all and I say, wow, these are really terrific. And if I go through and I'm honest about which ones I've read and which ones I haven't,
yeah.
I could have a great book sale.
Okay, we'll be over. Yeah.
Well, going back on the books, can your people recommend ways to sell them?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. And depending on the categories or if the historical value, it depends on, or if they're more education textbooks, whatever. It depends on what the particulars of the collection, what the specialty is, the condition. It's very much the same as a record or CD music collection, etc. And as I used to advise public constantly, I was getting phone calls in my old shop, you know, what do I do with 78s, etc., or wax cylinders, etc., you know, various music formats. So, yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah. So should you perhaps sort everything before we start as to, types of books, that sort of thing?
You can divide it up different ways. Of course, put aside or tag the ones that you're wanting to hold aside, to keep, or ones that you want to give to certain people. Flag those right away too. All the other, so I always start with what is it you want to try to hold on to that can always be pared down later. Then what you're disposing of, it's very personal. Some people want to find, get some money back. Other people that is, and we're not just talking books, we may be talking furniture, household items, we may be talking antiques. What is your personal priority? Are you trying to do resale, and or would you rather give something to a historic society if it's of use and value and meets their criteria? You may be doing a variety of things too, or donating things to different programs there's a lot of places in the terms of books for education that need that, or adult literacy programs, what have you. Question?
Because we have an organization in Winchester called PennCon,
Mm-hmm.
and if you give them your things,
Mm-hmm.
and they sell them, the money stays in the community.
That's very good. Okay, and there's so many other things too, like the restore, now we're talking about other things besides books, but there's so many organizations like Habitat for Humanity has the restores, which reuse household fixtures, furniture, etc. That's just one example of endless categories. So it depends also on what charitable organizations you personally or your family wants to support too. Now, you've had a hand up for a while.
Yeah, my question is, what do you do with 33s and 78 records?
Again, that's going to vary. She's talking about LPs, 33s and 78s. It depends on the type, the genre of music, it depends on the actual condition, etc. I can go over that specifically with you and give you some ideas. Realize with vinyl, as with other categories of things, the value on market can be way off nowadays.
Looking for value, I just want to...
Somebody that cares about it.
Yes.
Right. There may be, they may need to cherry pick through it, depending on what artists are represented, you know, etc. But I can go through that with you directly and give you a couple of leads. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. What about, we have tons of CDs.
Yes.
And what I've done is I've had my son record them on the computer so we could get rid of them.
Okay.
But my husband says, we can't get rid of them because legally, if you don't have the disc, then you
The
are
copyright
considered
issues.
piracy. So along with all the discs and all the textbooks that he's had from forever, I tell him when we move, I'm really going to miss him when I have to put him in storage along with his books and CDs.
The copyright is very important, and there are, technically that's correct, but there's also ways that instead of having them in all the plastic jewel boxes, this individual CDs, you can also put them in notebook folders that really compress the space, and they're binders.
But you do need to keep
But-
the physical CD.
Or there's other ways that you can make a note that you actually own that recording at one point, when you digitize it. Yeah,
Suggestion for her.
yeah.
Take a photo of them and then you can get rid of them.
Right, that's what I was trying to say, is there's a number of ways you can, you've got to make sure it's not a photo you've grabbed offline, et cetera, cover up. But I mean, there are ways that it could be documented, but it may be simpler just to keep the tangible item and out of the jewel box and in the binders. And they're just little sleeves. It's more like a more compressed photo album and slimmer. I think you had a question.
I'm going back to your thing about connections.
Mhm.
I started with clothing,
Great.
and for me, when I was growing up, my mother got all our clothing at the Salvation Army.
Right.
And I give everything to the Salvation Army, and I feel really good. I feel like
Good.
I'm giving back. So that's what I do.
And so that's an easy process then, for the most part, for you to let go and start with the clothing. See, everybody's got a different angle on what's their easiest thing and what their anxiety or hardest part might be. So you got to do it in different stages. Another important thing to think of, somebody called me on the phone recently and she said, I'm paralyzed. I've been working on different projects throughout the house. And then she went on. And I'm like, so you have no part of the house where it's not disrupted by all this sorting? She said, that's right. And she says, now I can't do anything. You know, it made me sad because you've got to sort of limit the spaces. If you have a couple of rooms, at least make one area the more safe area, and maybe the other for processing the things that you can give yourself permission at this time to let go. But don't have the whole house sort of upside down. because then every morning you wake up, it's going to be a real downer. And you're trying to avoid that. You need, again, be kind to yourself during this whole process. It's hard. Don't let the items, the belongings, and the emotions with that pull you down, because then you're not going to be able to move ahead. And you need to mix it up and also go out to come here, go to your regular activities, so forth.
Does it make sense to hire an appraiser if you think you have a lot of things that are antique?
That's a good question. In terms of, yes, and I was going to get into that in a moment. In terms of resale auctioneers, it depends on what your belongings are, etc. First off, they're not going to want to make numerous trips out to your house. So you need to try to identify and pull everything aside and have your inventory list. It'd be great to type up, either email or regular post mail, and send them a list of items with as much a description as you can about items. This also is important if you're an artist and with your 150 paintings that you've produced over many years, etc. Your antiques, give more descriptions on that and background, but also have photographs of all of that, so that they know what they're walking into. Because you could have a conversation on the phone and you might be describing something either in very modest terms and undervaluing it, or more likely exaggerating because you have such a strong connection with something. And in today's current economy, don't be surprised if you can't get as much money as maybe you even paid for something a number of years ago. There's a lot of stories about how the values of grand pianos or what have you have changed so drastically. That said, Asian art is right now one of the hotter items and so forth. But silver, no. China, no. So it really varies. It may have been a different story 5 years ago. So it's all changes. So you also need to talk to different appraisers. With auction houses or the appraisers also, understand what the contract is. There are too many people that don't know about the fine print, and they vary greatly. If you're somebody that can't really make up your mind and you've given 20 items, a lot of it might be furniture or what have you, and the auctioneer is taking it away and you sign the contract, these items are going to be sold. They've immediately started doing the research on it, they've professional photographs, etc. Now it's about 2 weeks before the auction's going to take place, you've changed your mind. I want that item back. Know that there are going to be huge penalty fees for changing your mind. Also understand what the commission or what their percentage is. Just go over all those details because they vary very much with auctioneers, antique dealers. They may want to have an auction on your property as opposed to their location. In most cases, it's better if it's not at your property. Security issues, privacy, but also it's better that they can control it in the auction house because nowadays there's also the whole online international bidding aspect of it. So it's not just local Winchester, Boston, Cambridge. Yeah.
What do you think of estate sales? People that come in.
Yeah. If you're doing an estate sale, what, on the property?
Well, I went through one house one time to see what was.
Again, you got to be careful. Quite often, the estate sales, okay, when they do it on the property and that house is already on the market or whatever, the stuff that's in there isn't all necessarily from that house. Quite often, the auctioneers pump it up, as they say it, with stuff from other places. Again, this goes back to why there's a number of reasons why you don't want to be on property. also somebody by the way, my business is out of southern Vermont, as you've heard. I've been a long-time Boston area resident, but I'm the first business of this sort in Vermont. There's at least 25 other senior move firms here in Massachusetts. We're all members of the National Association of Senior Move Managers, but we're individual, separate businesses. The reason I'm bringing that up is there are different business models. I come from a background of as a librarian, etc. I have a partner who's also a therapist and also a geri psych clinician on board. I've got another person that does oral history, etc., and recordings, and then other team members. Other firms are coming from the hospitality, B&B, or hotel concierge, or realtor background, etc. There may be the occasional social worker or gerontologist on the team. So that senior move firms can vary greatly too. A little bit more information about it is an industry that's only 10 years old and growing very rapidly because we have over 10,000 baby boomers retiring on a daily basis for the next now 18 years. And there's not enough younger generation, or our children may be scattered too far afield, or the dynamics may not be great and they don't want to be involved and help out. It could be any number of circumstances. So it's great then to, even if you have, family nearby that are caring and so forth, they may not physically or not logically, but they may not be able to see the big picture because they just have a different way of organizing things. You may still want to bring in a senior manager just a second to help with you. And the way most of us charge, which is a question nobody's brought up yet, is most of us charge by the hour. Instead, we can sort of give you a general idea of what a project should be, but there are often a lot of hidden surprises. One project I've been worked on quite a bit last year up in Bar Harbor was just a small 24-room summer cottage. If I had given the person an overall estimate for the work, and her husband had died a few years before that, and she's a very smart person, but the whole situation was devastating, of course. And he was a collector. All kinds of wild and beautiful collections everywhere, but so emotionally charged was it. Anyway, if I had just given a flat estimate and said, this is what it is, she would be misled. I would have really been burnt because I knew the inside floor plan and rooms was not matching the outside of the house by an awful lot. There were doorways that were covered over with stuff that I didn't know that there was big rooms with more stuff behind there. So there were other concerns too. That's a part of the explanation of why charging by the hour. That way also with a weekly invoice you can see what the progress is, what you can take control of and do yourself, what you need some help with, and keep revising the plan as you go. It gives you more flexibility. It gives you autonomy over all the decisions, and that's the way it should be. It shouldn't, you really don't want well-meaning family members coming in and saying, okay, this stuff we'll take it to the dump or whatever. That's the worst. So, you were going to say?
So do you have suggestions on how you can give some of the things that you have to children?
Have those, yes.
Several might want the same item or so forth.
Okay, when it's sort of like a lottery almost or something. Well, and it's always nice if you're able to give things when you can actually hand it to them and be there to see their expression and hear their comments on it.
It's also a matter of another family member might also want.
Right, you can figure out different ways, also state attorneys use different types of family lotteries. I mean, I had to go through that with my own family when there were a number of antiques and things that we were all conflicted about. I wish we had done it when my parents were alive, for example. It would have been very different, I think. But it's important to have the family together. We've got Thanksgiving and the other holidays coming up. This is also very much on the mind of the younger generations at this time too. And they may not be able to bring up the conversation. You might want to bring it up. How should we divide up things? People write your list of what's individually and privately, what's most important. You know, are you dividing it based on what it is, you know, value-wise, financially, or, you know, are you dividing it on, okay, the senior child had more connection to this, whatever. Yeah, or what is best suited for so-and-so's home, or, you know, there are different subjective ways it can be sorted out. But somebody's got to open the conversation, and it's probably going to have to be you to take charge.
In this generation,
Yeah.
some multiple divorces.
That's true. That makes it very controversial.
I think it's all over the line.
Yeah.
And so, the question is that something that you want to go to a particular son or a particular daughter, will end up going
Somewhere else.
somewhere else altogether where there's no relationship. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean,
You can.
you could probably make some kind of written statement. You might need to actually have, it depends what your relationships are with the family members, all the ones involved. You might have to make a informal written document, or you might have to draw something up with your will saying, you know, if person A dies or divorces, you know, then the person B is blah, blah, blah. But there's different ways that can be handled. It may not be easy, but yeah.
You mentioned, I'll do something while you're alive.
Mm-hmm.
You get to it, I'll be around to help you while alive. What I'm thinking usually is, first of all, I issue organization, usually organizing materials,
Mm-hmm.
fairly expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then having my sons look at it now,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just letting it go, until I'm gone.
But, yeah, and that's so much harder. It's more stressful for them too, and
The problem there was, I thought that was a lot more. I have emotional attachment to all my materials.
right, that's why you have it there.
Right, that's right. And while it might be helpful to have them take a look at it now, when I'm worried about being disappointed that they may not want things that I think are really important.
Well, but then you know,
I'm not sure I know.
then you might know that some of those documents or other items, tangibles, are meant for the Historical Society, and maybe of much greater importance and value there. Then you will know that, and it will get placed it will get in the right place. Wouldn't that be more satisfying? That outweighs the letdown of, okay, son number 2 doesn't, you know, get it. Son number 2, maybe 20 years later, will get it and will remember that it took care of it. It's there where I and the rest of the public can now go use it and research value, etc. I also work with consulting with different historical societies too. So I don't know which one. Go on, sir.
Well, I would just enter a caveat that a historical society has a brain.
Mm-hmm.
Does not accept that.
That's true.
They have a collection policy, and if what you offer them falls outside the policy, unless you are also going to accompany it with a gift of at least $25 million, they're not going to accept it.
Well, that's right. And that's true of libraries, that's true of radio stations, et cetera. You have to find the right match. It's, what is the value to their collection, et cetera. It's the same as when I was weeding out in my past career, when our station took over its classical competitor. And with that other station being closed down, there was 13,000 CDs, all classical. But a lot of it, I quickly went through and boxed all of that up because I knew hands-on what was going to be redundant with the collection that we had, which was much bigger, several times larger. But I also knew, because I was tapped into all these music library organizations nationally and locally, what universities and conservatories needed to help supplement their programs. So it's knowing the right connections and the placement on the collections. And then also I knew that activities directors at so many senior centers, nursing homes and other facilities always need music, and they need certain types of music to benefit their programs. So what I'm trying to say is I made the connections, I wrapped up individual packets of appropriate classical and holiday music, and it went to 250 activities directors across the state. So now I have a huge pile of thank you notes that actually mean a lot more, and it got to the right people. So you see, it then benefits whole communities. So you can do that with a whole variety of stuff. But it takes time with the research, and again, that's what a senior move manager can do. Now, I know I'm running a little long here, and there's also a couple more things I want to get through. Let's just quickly go through this. The 5 R's of right-sizing. Now, right-sizing, downsizing. I don't like downsizing because that might mean a layoff or something, but normally people would only talk about, even in terms of being green and environmentally friendly, you'd only talk about reducing your belongings or your trash and recycling as much as you can. And reusing, you can repurpose something. You might have a marble top dresser. Don't think of that as just something that needs to be in a bedroom. It could be something that you use in the living room and store your photograph albums in it. Or if you're moving to a smaller space, you don't need the huge dining room table. You may not have room for a kitchen table and a dining room table. You might want, I didn't, bring a sample of it. But if anybody knows the tilt-type table that they make in Maine, which is also a chair, that's a great space saver. So there's different ways to do things or reuse things. Resell. We talked about consignment, we talked about thrift, auctioneers, antique dealers. So there's a whole number of things there. Why do I have refuse at the bottom? Again, it's refuse to let your belongings dictate and control your life. It's not refusing to take more things, but it's just being selective about it and just refusing to be overwhelmed by all of this stuff.
I thought it was refuse.
Yeah.
Because that can vary depending on what's needed. So what's the range? Again, it depends on the distance. There's a number of factors and so forth. It can range from 45 to 65. But again, there's a number of factors that go into that. And trying to be efficient and so forth, how many team people are in. It doesn't come cheap. Does it? Basically, if it was simple and cheap, do you have somebody that's qualified, licensed, insured, etc.? Those are all things that are required. Do you have somebody, what if they get hurt on the job or one of the members of the team gets hurt? There's a number of things that are covered. So, and there's flexibility in pricing, but it's a professional service. And as NASM members, by the way, that's a copyright name. So not anybody can just hang out their shingle and say they're a senior move manager. You know, there's accountability, integrity. You need to be trustworthy, etc. But you also need to at least get through basic courses on ethics, safety, etc. And again, you know, do all the legal work, be insured, be accountable, be professional, and so forth. So let's go through a quick exercise. If we're moving, or let's say, think of it as if you were going on a trip. How would you start packing? And you probably want to save money and not get charged for all the extra baggage. So you want to just be efficient and use a carry-on bag so you can get on and off the plane quickly. Okay, how are you going to pack? Well, don't you need to know a few things first? What climate you're going to? What is it you're doing? Is this how long are you staying? Yeah. So
What are you going to wear on the airplane?
Yeah. If I was packing sunscreen, what would you assume from this, you know, why am I packing sunscreen?
Aruba.
All right. Going to a warm climate, this is probably not business, it's, you know, going to be a vacation, etc. I'm also packing sunscreen because I want to be safe and not get all burned up. Safety, okay? Now, what if I was packing wool socks?
Fairbanks.
Probably going to a very different climate. What if I'm packing, and again, it's safety again, because I don't want hypothermia, I don't want, you know, wet feet, whatever. And, but what if I'm packing the two in the same bag? What am I doing now?
Fairbanks in the summer.
Okay. Or going mountain climbing or something like that. So the thing is, think ahead. Where are you going? What are you going to need? Anticipate. The same as downsizing in your home or moving to a new location. Mark off how long the closet pulls are in the new location. Storage, they have a lot less storage, for example. You're only going to have maybe 4 or 5 feet of coat space. Mark that off so that you can realistically know how many clothes you're taking. And figure out what you're doing with the other seasonal stuff. Also, it's going to be a different kind of configuration for the kitchen. Or, as I was just helping people in Rhode Island recently, they moved back from Florida, and they both have mobility issues and so forth. So, you know, I had to make modifications to the place that they were moving into. In terms of shower hoses and all the rest of it, but also how to navigate the kitchen from wheelchair or scooter. So there's a lot of things that can be handled very simply that one needs to consider. Now, I'm going to give myself a break here on talking, but in a moment. We did touch briefly on the power of the spoken word and storytelling, and also verbalizing things to help let go. And I'd like to play some audio here. And this is a service that is unique to our business, our company only, and that we're doing nationally, and it's called Songs and Stories Saved. I think the oral history projects and different programs you hear quite often on public radio or in other community projects. You'll get the idea.
As time goes by, we not only accumulate belongings, we also accumulate memories. A memory sometimes is all that's left of an event or a relationship from long ago. At On-Tempo Senior Move, we capture and preserve memories, and we do this tailored to the needs of each client through a service that we call Songs and Stories Saved. I'm Naomi Arenberg, the On-Tempo oral historian, and I'd like to tell you about this service. First, The term oral historian is just a fancy way to say that I talk with people about their life experiences and make audio recordings of these conversations. After each recording session, I edit the material to get rid of ums and ahs, for example. Then I create a copy of the conversation on compact disc or in an electronic audio file to give back to you. The result is like a photo album, except that it consists of sounds, not pictures. Many clients record their stories right in their own homes. My portable recording equipment fits in a small bag and can go just about anywhere. You may choose any location, such as a place of worship, a favorite restaurant, or an outdoor spot. Sometimes family members or friends are on hand to join the conversation. To give you an idea about what songs and stories saved sounds like, here are some samples from actual recordings. First, we'll hear from someone whose memories of growing up in Ireland are closely associated with the songs and rhymes of his early years.
Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I can't help but look in the mirror because I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me. I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. My name is John Joe Healy, not Joseph, Joe. I was born in Cork City, and at present we're in my bedroom in the village of Masters Mills, which is part of the town of Barnstable in Massachusetts. In the dear little town, in the old country town, it will linger way down.
Okay, so here we have an example of someone that came over as a teenager to help support the family back in Ireland. And these stories and poems and everything that was memorized, the younger generations, I know this family quite well, don't necessarily hold on to it. They don't understand the value of the songs, but they are going to miss it in a few years. So we've been working for the past year doing a very extensive recording project with John, and it's very exciting. Now we're going to hear a different situation.
Talked about their respective careers as a field botanist and a field
professors retired
anthropologist
in
south of the
Newton,
border.
still in
They
their
still
home,
treasure the
which
objects
is
that they
modified.
brought back a half-century ago.
I'm Lawrence Kaplan. We're in the back parlor of our home in Newton Center. That shelf in the window there is mahogany, and that's the true Central American mahogany, which we brought back from our first
Now they're
trip
talking
to
about
Mexico.
ordinary
Had an
looking
old
boards, which are
ancient
actually quite
1940
significant
Jeep
because of
station
their
wagon,
archaeological excavations.
and we brought back
Somebody else might come
5
through and just
mahogany
throw that out.
boards
What a
that were
shame.
cut by hand in one of the villages that we worked in on the Pacific coast of Mexico. And so we've used those boards, those mahogany boards, for bookshelves, for all kinds of things all these years. And of course, that's another thing that talks to us.
My name is Lucille N. Kaplan. My middle initial stands for Nobler, and I will gladly sometime tell you the story of how I became a Nobler. This house has the 2 parlors facing Cypress Street. There's a wooded slope across there, and then you can't see the street. There's a stone wall down there, and then there's what we've put in, for example, the yew hedge. And look at this view. As far as I'm concerned, I would gladly stay here for the rest of my life. Looking at the snow, looking at the leaf fall, which looks like an oriental rug on the slope in autumn, and spring when everything begins to leaf out. Oh, it's thrilling.
Okay, we're going to have to stop it there. So in that last one, Lucy is talking about her sense of belonging in Newton Center, her home with the 2 parlors, etc. Now, she and her husband have managed to live in that house for now 56 years, I believe it is. And they've done a lot where they have modified it. They were able to put in a stair chair, and also put the laundry upstairs where the bedrooms are, so they don't have to go down those dangerous basement steps, etc. So they're still able to use the 2 main floors fairly well. But they know that at a certain point, they're going to have to actually leave that house. So by documenting their feelings, their connections, and all their library of books and artifacts all around, they will have that, and it also makes it a little easier in thinking through the process that they'll have to let go a bit later. But right now, it also helps them stay at home too. Yeah,
Well, why aren't they considering having someone come in to help?
they are.
Then they don't have to.
They have all kinds of services, but it's their health issues that are changing beyond that.
So it's not always just choosing someone. And I understand that's very expensive too.
It depends on the needs, it depends on the setup. It depends, what other people you have available. Every situation is so different. Yeah. So I'm, trying to stay in home is always preferable. But even
Do
in
you
the
feel
best,
that sometimes people are talked into leaving the home and thinking that the other place is going to...
talked into by who? Whom rather.
Relatives, friends, both?
It depends who's doing the talking, doesn't it? And what their motive is?
Not really. I think
Well, it can.
I think it depends on how you feel yourself.
Each family, I can't make a broad statement on that because each family is very different. I mean, there are too many variables in that. I think it would be a mistake for me to make a broad answer on that. Anybody else? Is there other things that we need to cover also topic-wise, because I realize we should wrap up soon. You had your hand up.
This was just a comment on what you said about people coming into the home. My father's cousin didn't want to leave her place. So she had somebody come in 10 hours a day, and it cost her $120,000 a year. And she was running out of money, so she had to go to the nursing home. She had no choice, but she really didn't like it.
But assisted living wasn't free either.
Yeah, well, anyway, it's more expensive than a nursing home. You have somebody come to your house. And that was not even full, that was not even 24 hours.
And it also depends on your community, what services are available. Are you using case managers in the community? There's so many other things that you need to go into and really check out too. There are often many different options, but it depends geographically a great bit deal of it, varies.
Many options, it seems to me there's the assisted living, which is a true nursing home, and there's the nursing home.
It depends on your cognitive, physical abilities, etc. It depends on a number of factors, family, etc. Yeah.
I'm going to comment that. My partner's been talking for years now about what she calls the big house,
Oh.
where people come together
Mhm.
who know one another, and make the assumption that they'll be able to live together.
Mhm.
They buy a large house, a mansion, anything like that. Enough bedrooms for the people involved, and live-in staff.
Mhm.
Now, that requires funds, obviously,
Mhm.
but it's an alternative to, having your own place somewhere.
It's a type
That's
of
very
communal,
different.
living. And there's actually places in Vermont that are doing that.
It's not speaking about Mount Vernon.
So,
That's the way that is.
I mean, there are different setups. There's also a setup that's on a different level over in JP that's still communal living. In southern Vermont, there are different communities where it's for seniors and so forth. So it really depends on locale. It depends on how active people are, and I mean, in terms of working together and how well organized they are.
And zoning.
And zoning, it's a number of factors, so I can't, you know, it would not be fair to make one that general statement to your question there. You know, it's the same as a condo association, what are the dynamics, et cetera. Anything else that we should try to cover quickly, or other questions, or we can also talk more individually afterwards.
Do you have a list of referrals, I mean, of people that would help move or help dispose of things?
Right, I always, I use different things. Again, it's finding out exactly what the needs are, because if we just have a conversation over the phone, you may be describing something and I might be imagining, visualizing something totally different, and then I might give you the wrong referral. So I need to see something, the actual setup. Somebody might say, oh, my mother is a hoarder and this house is jam-packed. People are too quick to use that kind of terminology. And it's also, can be quite insulting too, you know. There's actually, by the way, an official scale on hoarding, 5 levels. And know that I refuse to watch any of these cable programs or nonsense about hoarding, because it's unrealistic. You don't just come in and it's magically done and everything's resolved. You have to get back to what are the core issues or the patterns are going to keep continuing, you know? What are the triggers that somebody might be collecting or doing something so excessively that it's endangering their health or somebody else, or having too many animals? That's a whole another issue and then another specialty. I don't think that probably applies here, though you can never tell, because I've had friends that actually are well-dressed and they present one way outside, but they won't let you in their house because they're trapped by unhealthy circumstances. So it can be severe. All I'm trying to say is, you know, a conversation may not really describe, or I may not be visualizing what you're thinking of. It may be something very different. You may be adding a lot of value to a vase, and it turns out it's a reproduction or something. So,
Well, thank you.
thank you.